So we're with Bethany Howard, who is a self-initiator and life adventurer. And I'm so excited to continue our conversation, which has been going for a little while already. So welcome.
Thank you.
One of the things that you've been doing recently is making videos of yourself, recording yourself, but just for yourself. I'd love to hear a bit about that practice and what it's giving you. And
Oh, wow. Because I've been doing a lot of coaching and stuff like that. That's given me, gosh, I get to be my own coach now, which is quite powerful, and receive my own wisdom. And it's been probably one of the biggest expressions of self-love. When I shared it with someone recently, they said, "Oh, how confronting is that?" I couldn't understand that. How is it confronting to see yourself? But it actually reminds me of one workshop I did, and I didn't want to, we had to go look in the mirror and say, "I love you." And I didn't want to go in front of that thing, and I bawled my eyes out. And so thank you for asking that question, because now I realized that now I watch these videos, and sometimes I'll be like yelling and saying really mean stuff to myself, but other times it's fully loving. Fully expressive, and watching it back straight afterwards, it's pretty mind-blowing. But yeah, loving the physical, so there's a lot of double chin going on, and loving all the different faces that show up, and just expressing, not holding anything in, or needing to wait till someone comes home and then vomiting on them, like I vomited on you earlier because I hadn't done my video dump. Yeah, it actually came from, because I had an astrology reading, and he said Aquarians, so funny, you guys, Aquarians, if we don't do this expression, we don't have an outlet, there's just basically clogs up our system. And so usually we're trying to get it with people, but if they don't want our ideas and everything, then it's just like, let me speak, but we're talking about stuff that doesn't matter right now. Totally. So I'm like, well, I can just be my own best friend and talk to myself.
And when you mentioned about being an Aquarius, it makes me think of your amazing knowledge and love of different personality systems. Yeah, I'd love if you could tell us some of the personality systems you've been exploring and what you've been getting out of them.
I think I've almost done every one that exists. The ones that I love most, the two, are human design and astrology. And I think that's because we don't answer questions. It's just when you're born, and then so there's an already giving it over to a higher purpose, a higher trust, unconscious kind of thing. The process with them though is to first, it's like a mental process. I just digest as much information as I can. I read everything. But then I need to see how it plays out. So I want to ask, I want to find out, people must get really annoyed because when I get a new system, I'm like, I think you might be this. Oh, can you do this? What time are you born? It's like asking for someone's number. It's more personal. When I see the different things, then I get a sense of the flavour and the essence and what that's like. But then there's the next level is the embodiment of that. And so it's like, well, they're useless maps unless you're actually acting whatever the lessons and things like that are. But then the last thing is, of all of that, then being able to let it go. Because we over-identify with these things too much, they just become a new form of dogma.
That feels really important.
And so that's the piece that I always try to keep. It opens up this container for you to be able to step into and own more of yourself. There comes a time when the container needs to be expanded or removed for the next level.
Our natural personality type, they have strengths that we're meant to use, that we're meant to call upon. Yeah, so that's, I guess.
This is a previous conversation we're having, wasn't it, about amplification. And I was talking about how so much in this world we're we need to be good at everything, and you just do these kind of things. But that's where these systems are really powerful, because when you can own what you're really good at naturally, when someone else can, you can have more full faith and trust and, you know, more love and enjoyment of life than trying to be like that person or do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's important, like you say, to acknowledge the shadows and to experience them. But don't spend all your time and effort working on being that when this is where your juice is, this is where your natural soul's essence comes alive. Like, so I'm over that kind of like finding all the faults and flaws and working on them as like strengths and amplify them.
Oh, I love that. I'm wondering if you're willing to share like the question that you like asking people about their message. Because I feel like that's really strength focused.
Yeah. So a lot of people get stuck in what their purpose is and that kind of thing. And this question was actually asked of me, and it's something that I now use. And our purpose is really, I believe, our message that we're here to deliver, which is also our lesson that we're most here to learn. And so it's authentically ours because we've experienced both totally living it and totally not living it. And so the way that I ask it is so dependent on what that person's, I guess, kind of work is. And so with you working in women's circles, I got you to kind of close your eyes and ask you've got a group of women sitting around your circle, and it's the closing message, and you want to leave them with the thing that's most important, that if they could take anything away from this right now, what is the message that they would like to take? And I'll let you share what you came up with.
The thing that came up was
it's so beautiful.
Feel yourself from the inside out.
And as soon as you said that, I'm like, that is so you. Like, that is when I interact with you, that's what I experience. But I also know that that's your greatest source of pain as well, with the boundaries and all that kind of thing. And so that's why you can deliver that. And so I think then the next thing is people get caught up purpose with the vehicle of delivering that message. And we think that there's only one way, is like through coaching or like you have to write blogs and all this kind of thing in personal development world. But it's like you could, you know, like you have written this beautiful book and that's delivering your message. You're delivering your message in every conversation you have, whether you know it or not. And you deliver it by living it and naturally birthing it that way.
It's such a relief, almost. It's like, oh, okay. I'm doing it. I can't help but do it. Like to share the thing that I'm here to share. It's like, it feels like it takes a certain pressure off of like, if I'm not doing this like massive thing and reaching millions of people, like I'm not doing it, I'm not living my purpose.
Oh, I hate that. Like, it's empowering to a point because it will get us to get out of ourselves and want to share ourselves and that kind of thing. But it also puts such a fuckload of pressure on, like, and we both love Elizabeth Gilbert, and one of my favourite talks was hers, is about the following the curiosity. And like, if you have passion, awesome, but she's like a rarity. From 6 years old, she knew she was going to be a writer, and she's been jackhammering it for ages. I don't know that many people who are like that. So this whole following curiosity, which is also following the things that will allow you to continue that message and lesson, is really what's happening.
And just earlier, before we started filming, we were speaking about like that desire to share ourselves, but how that can kind of, like, there's a certain pressure that can come from that almost, of like, I'm like, how can I give to the world? Like, what can I give to the world? And it can be quite stifling and coming from a place of striving instead of something like what you're taking yourself through, this archetype journey, which I'm going to ask you about. But it's like sharing from a place of overflow and just like, wow, this is so here for me, and giving that to the world. But I'd love if you feel like sharing about your archetype journey.
So I guess that's why the label Life Adventurer came in, and I guess I would also like to share my message from when I did this process, which is essentially connecting to self. And that's been my journey of feeling disconnected and connected. And I think that's also why I love personality systems, because it's enabling me to connect to other parts of myself. And that's essentially the archetype journey as well, is like, you know, those bits that are a bit, oh, I'm not that, or I am that, or I want to celebrate that and embody that even more, is what that's about. And so it is actually in process now, because the first month is all about me. So it's really going within, and I didn't really set anything up, and the fact that we're doing this right now feels really perfect. Yeah, but essentially it was born from the love of adventure and knowing that I would need to stay here in Melbourne, and how could I make it more exciting and more adventurous, but also something that's probably been planted in me for ages, because I grew up reading fantasy books, and I've always wanted, you know, those create your own adventure books and that kind of thing are amazing, and I've always wanted to be the hero or the warrior or the princess and the queen and like all of the things, and so that's essentially what I'm doing in this modern day world. So trying to bring in that symbology into it. And so next month I'll be doing the child. So that one's going to be really interesting. I'm going to do a lot of fetal position and a lot of crafts and Disney, but also not planned, because it's whatever my child wants to do. And that will be the same for all of them. I have an initiation, so like a bigger event, but then also a daily practice, and the rest is just living in what's there.
Getting the messages from that part of you and just following where it wants to take you.
And that's what's been happening. And I think we spoke about earlier, when you are kind of this sharing, this overflowing, there's so much synchronicity occurring in life as well. It's like the yeses from life. Yeah. And that's, I never want to come across as saying that there's no challenge and there's no shadows. I fucking actually love shadow work, and probably a bit too much sometimes. But yeah, and acknowledging the support and the yeses, and someone said to me the other day, and I can't remember where it's come from, but when you're doing what you love, the challenges become redirected into that. So they're not these little nitty-gritty challenges that, you know, because you have to have some challenge in your life. It's like, it's on what you love. And I think Elizabeth Gilbert, she says, it's not do what you love, it's do the thing that you can eat as many shit sandwiches as come with it.
Yeah, totally.
So it's like, well, yeah, give me challenges, but make them in line with what I'm doing, so there's, you know, I'm just overflowing anyway, so they're just
easy, or there's an ease or a willingness there,
and stuff.
Because it is like you're a self-initiator, and I feel like that's something that you were sharing earlier, of that we don't have to do all the workshops and
I've done a lot. Like I only have got to this place from doing them, but I feel really grateful now to life is the workshop. And about a month ago, it transitioned from learning to creating.
Wow.
And when I realised this, my whole body responded, and there was tears, and there was like just this release. And so as much as I'm saying, you know, workshop, blah, 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 it's just because that's where I'm at. They totally have a place and to go fully into it and everything. But I've just come out and I'm like creating my own life with all of the things that I've learned. And so it's not that the learning stopped, but it's become more of a, I feel like creating's the combination of being and doing. You can't fully create unless you're in presence, really. And it's this outflow, like this natural overflow we were talking about.
And I love that's such a beautiful answer.
Thank you.
Of like that transition from learning into creating. It's like such a natural cycle. Like the tree giving its fruit. It's like it's gone through the season. That's totally what I see for you. If you had a vision for an ideal world, what would it look like? How would people live?
I'd love to say that it's got all these things about the planet and all this kind of stuff, but basically the world I see is where people are nourished for who they truly are, and their gifts are relished, And that from such a young age, that's the way that we're raised.
I really love that vision. It's like there's it's simple, but there's so much power in it of just people being honoured for who they are.
Yeah, I wrote something the other day about I've never really cared what people believe, whether it's this religion or whether it's right or wrong or true or false. Or what I truly care about is whether that supports that person. And then the caveat I always like to add, and then you need to be able to let go of those new things that you've chosen as well, because just because you're believing something now that supports you doesn't mean it's always going to support you.
Yes.
And so there's that flexibility and non-attachment.
That letting go. It's like not becoming too rigid with anything, even when it feels really good.
Oh, and this is coming from such a control freak, so I'm getting better.
It's really important.
There's magic. Yeah, letting go allows magic, essentially.
That's a beautiful quote. I'm going to keep that one. I'm going to use it. And so the last thing I'd love to ask you is, with all that, what makes you come alive?
Seeing other people alive and being a part of that. Co-creation. And adventure definitely makes me come alive. And that's just the pure experience of all that's there and it's available. Yeah, and I think the essential, simple truth of what makes me come alive is saying yes.
Yes.
Yeah, like you can't not come alive when you say yes.
Yes. I love Yes Man. It's my favourite movie.
No is also saying yes. You just got to figure out what you're saying yes to by saying no.
Yeah, and no is even saying yes to your boundaries and to...
Yeah, well, you're saying that yes to your sovereignty, or you're saying yes to something even more amazing coming through. Yeah. So there's no limits on either side of those.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bethany. Could talk to you forever.
We're going to continue that.
Totally.
This can't be over.
It's just perfect.
Can I hug you?
Yeah. I can hug for that little phone. Oh.
You can hear our hearts through the microphone.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
Thank you for what you do and what you bring.
Pleasure. Thank you.